Do you like a good scare? Do you have a dark and disturbing imagination? Then you've come to the right place. Time Warp Studios proudly presents The Shiver Show. I'm your host, Mary Labrie, here with co-host Greg Flynn. Greg, we're about to listen to When the Worlds Met. Any advice for the listeners?
As a youngster, I loved a TV series called My Favorite Martian with Ray Walston as Uncle Martin, who was a Martian who crash landed on what he called a backward planet, which, as you can imagine, was Earth. So I'm hoping the Martians in this radio play are just as likable as my Uncle Martian. So let's listen, Mary.
Yeah, I remember how his little antenna used to pop up there.
Oh, yes. I've forgotten that. That was fabulous.
Very high-tech special effects.
Send our imaginations forward into time, into the years beyond 2000 AD. What strange adventures, what exciting things will we find in the world of tomorrow? 2000 plus. Today, an adventure of outer space, When the Worlds Met. It is the year 2000 plus 20. At the giant spaceport in Washington, D.C., temporary capital of the Federated World Government, an enormous throng, tense with expectancy, jams every available inch of space surrounding the rocket landing field. All eyes strain upward into the clear blue sky. For today is the day, April 21st, 2000 plus 20. And audio and televox networks of the world are at the rocket field to cover the epic event. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is the day we've all been waiting for. In a matter of minutes now, out of that brilliant blue sky will come a ship, a spaceship, carrying in its gleaming hold the first load of uranium taken from the pits of Luna, satellite of Earth. Since the beginning of time... Now, one moment, folks. There's a signal from the tower. This may be it. Take it away, Fred.
This is Fred Haskins reporting from the control tower. Our escort planes have been in contact with the spaceship from Luna for the past 12 minutes. They are now approaching the field from the northeast. At any moment now, we can expect... And there she is, the rocket ship Luna, 17 hours out of Luna City. Her magnesium hull white hot from the friction of the atmosphere. Her jet brakes belching fire. She's right over the field now. She's coming down. 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 He's landed! Mark well this date, my friends. This is the dawn of the interplanetary age.
Earth calling moon. Earth calling moon. I'm in Luna City.
Luna City, Johnny Dixon.
Dixon, where you been? You're 3 minutes late.
Sorry, McCabe. All shipments as scheduled, everything routine.
Report noted. Check out.
Check it.
You know, Johnny,
What, Paul?
sometimes I think we're crazy. Spending our lives cooped up in this pressurized shell, breathing synthetic air, risking our necks every time we put on a spacesuit and go out into the cold, barren, pitted piece of green cheese. And for what?
Well, you're kidding, Paul. You know the answer. We're space happy. That's all that's wrong with us. We pulled every wire and practically tore the World Federation apart getting this assignment on the moon. And we'll do it again when the first flight into deep space gets underway. Next month, next year, whenever they get through with their preparations.
Yeah, I guess that's it. But right now, Johnny, what I wouldn't give to see a tree again. And cornfields in Kansas.
Me, I want to hear a bird sing. And watch the lights go on in the skyscrapers along the waterfront. I want to dance with my girl and breathe in the sweet smell of lilac. Boy, if I... What's that?
Huh?
That sound, that vibration. There, did you hear it?
Well, I'm not sure whether I heard or felt it, Johnny. Like a current of air passing by me.
Yeah, that's it. Some kind of pulsation. Makes my skin tingle.
Listen. Sounded different, didn't it?
Yeah, different pitch.
The instruments are all steady. Nothing on the visitor screen. The radar's negative. What is it, Johnny? Where's it from?
It's not from Earth, I'll swear to that. I got a crazy notion, Paul. A crazy notion that someone's trying to signal us.
You mean?
I don't know what I mean. Maybe McCabe's right. Maybe I got a touch of...
Johnny, what is it?
Look, Paul. Look at the direction pointer. It's swung all the way around. Those sounds, those waves are coming from outer space. I gotta go. Earth calling Luna City. Earth calling Luna City. Luna City to Earth. Go ahead, Earth. Go ahead, McCabe.
Dixon, what's going on up there? What's the idea of beaming out those hammy signals?
Signals?
Yeah, the harp effect, the music of the sphere stuff. Giving the boys on the monitor down here the heebie-jeebies.
You got them too, McCabe? You picked them up on Earth?
Certainly. What's it all about?
The signals, if that's what they are coming from one definite spot in outer space.
Outer space?
That's what I said.
Johnny, get your spacesuit ready. Better have a conference about it.
But listen...
Have your men tune up Rocket 307. Blast off at 0800. We'll be expecting you on Earth in the morning.
10 days now we've been getting those signals, and not one of you geniuses has been able to decipher them.
Well, Mr. McCabe, if you know of anyone who can do it better, then
Take it easy, Professor Wolfson. You don't have to be so touchy. But 10 days. What do you say, Dr. Lee?
10 days or 10 years, it makes no difference. If those sounds or signals are code, it is in a language unknown to man.
You're sure of that?
We've consulted the foremost cryptographists of the world. We've tried every way to break the code.
What does that add up to?
That message, if it is a message, does not come from anywhere on Earth or from any man on Earth.
I told you, Chief. It's what I've been saying all along. Of course you can't decode those messages in any known language, living or dead, because they come from Mars.
Mars,
Cannot be.
impossible.
Yes, Mars. My directional finder on the moon indicated it. McCabe's down here pinned it down. Look at the graph. I brought it.
Directional signals can be wrong.
Yes, sir, but get this. I've been timing those signals. They come at intervals of exactly 24 hours, 37 minutes, and 22 seconds.
The length of the day on Mars.
Yeah. And if we were trying to signal them, we'd do it, say, every night at 1800. That's what they're doing to us.
In that case, the next signal is due
In
at...
10 minutes and 13 seconds. And we'll be sitting here like lummoxes, feeling our scalps tingle while the message drifts past us.
Gentlemen, excuse, please. But it seems to me the message need not necessarily drift past us.
What do you mean?
By the message, I do not mean the sounds or the words that are being transmitted. I refer to the thoughts themselves, the thoughts that perhaps are being transferred from the Martians to us.
Thought transference? What? That's telepathy.
We have discarded that word, Mr. Dixon. Too many charlatans use it. But we do know that there is extrasensory perception of thought impulses. Just as there are sound waves which your ear has learned to interpret, and light waves which your eye and brain transform into a picture, so there are thought waves, electrical impulses discharged by the brain, which vary with the particular thought.
An intriguing idea, Dr. Lee. If only we had some instrument that could pick up and sort out these impulses.
There is such an instrument, Professor Wilson.
What?
I have been working on it for many years. It involves a scanning screen intercepting an electrified field.
Well, what are we waiting for?
You understand, the telepathator has only been tested for short
The
distances.
signals are reaching us. That's the only important thing, isn't it? How soon can we...
The instrument is in the next room. I took the liberty of bringing it with me, hoping it might conceivably be of some use. This way, gentlemen.
You say this little machine can take thoughts and turn them into words we can hear? English words?
Not only English, Mr. McKeeb. It will translate thought impulses into any language for which you set the dials. You think of something, Mr. Dixon. Now, listen. First, I set for French.
Et maintenant, les Chinois.
German.
Wonderful, diese Chinesen.
And English.
Darn clever, these Chinese.
You must understand...
Excuse me, Dr. Lee, but we'll have to postpone this. 15 seconds to go. Better set your dials for a remote pickup. Stand by, everyone. Nothing.
No power.
Well, it was a good try. Wait. I've got that feeling again. My skin's beginning to crawl.
Yeah, mine too.
No, it's just your imagination.
Quiet. They are coming through now.
Planet 4. Greeting, Planet 3.
This is Mars.
The fourth planet from the sun. Greeting, Planet 3. Planet 4 calling Planet 3. We are trying to reach you, Planet 3. If you receive our signal, respond. If you receive our signal, respond. We will communicate again.
Life on Mars. This week, ladies and gentlemen, the question that has bedeviled mankind ever since the day he first stood erect and gazed into the heavens has been answered. There is life on Mars. Intelligent, articulate life. The country, the world tonight seethes with excitement. Has Mars received our response? Has our telepathator succeeded in projecting as thoughts the messages spoken into it by human beings? Or can it merely receive the
smell of lilacs, Terry. I'll never get enough of it.
Oh, it's lovely, Johnny. And look, there's a moon out tonight.
Moon? Oh, please. You know, it's hard to believe that back in 1950, people could still get romantic over that cold, dead, pockmarked heavenly yo-yo.
Oh,
Now, that red star up there, Mars, that's a different proposition. It's alive. There are living beings up there.
Johnny, it's staggering. It's beyond imagination. It's
Rubbish. Why shouldn't there be life up there?
They're so advanced. Spaceships and interplanetary signals.
Maybe you've got a point at that. We thought we were so smart because we reached the moon. Our spaceships aren't developed enough yet to get to Mars.
It's just as well.
What?
Because you'd want to be the first to go.
Wouldn't you like that? I'd be quite a hero. You could point at my picture and say, hey, that's my guy.
You're my guy anyway, Johnny.
Sure, Terry. But don't worry, honey. I won't be seeing any Martians for a long time.
All personnel, stand by. Stand by for XM signal.
That'll be Mars. Hop to it, Johnny.
Telepathator setting 212 degrees, 18 seconds. Frequency 600,000.
Got that, Johnny? Check.
Planet 4 calling Planet 3. Planet 4 calling Planet 3. We greet you in peace. Your response received.
We got through it.
The time has come. At this moment, which marks the beginning of the great interstellar age between worlds, it is fitting that there be between us a meeting of minds. Therefore, we are sending a ship to visit your planet.
No, it can't be.
The ship will depart tonight and enter your magnetic field in 7 of our days. Have landing instructions ready. We come in peace. We come in peace.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Matt Wilson bringing you a report of the emergency session of the Federated World Government. Never has an assembly meeting taken place in such an atmosphere of excitement, panic, and recrimination. And here on the floor of the assembly chamber,
We've been up
all the emotions aroused by the stunning message from Mars have been boiling and clashing all day.
I rise for a point of information. As civilian head of the world military government, I want to know why those Martians have beaten us to the draw.
Gentlemen, if the decision we are to make is to be a wise one, we must lay aside passions and fears and consider the question calmly. The Martians are coming, and we must receive them either with friendship or hostility.
Drive them off! Blast them out of the sky!
But that may not be as simple as it sounds. Remember, my friends, these Martians are advanced scientifically, perhaps far beyond us. They have conquered deep space. They can transmit thought waves. They may have weapons beside which our nuclear bombs are as toy pistols.
Dr. Lee is right, gentlemen. We don't dare fight them off. The risk is too great. They come in peace. They've said so over and over again. Let us so receive them. Very well, very well. If such is the will of this body, let them come in peace. But as civilian head of the world military government, I assure you all, we will not be found napping. interstellar ship. Earth calling Martian interstellar ship. Here are the landing instructions of the Federated World Government. 3 Earth days from this hour, which will be the 6th Martian day of your flight through space, you will be met by an escort of 20 rocket ships. We will greet you in the name of peace. The 20 rocket ships will escort you.
Instructions to Commission of Defense. All escort rocket ships assigned to accompany Martian spaceship will carry the following armaments: death fog sprays, magnetic disintegrators, atomic missiles Class B. All weapons shall be on the...
And upon your entry into the Earth's atmosphere, you will circle our globe once and then make landing at our spaceport at Los Alamos, New Mexico, which will be ready to receive you.
The spaceport of Los Alamos shall be mined to a depth of 50 feet with tritonium landmines. The field shall be encircled with radioactive flamethrowers and a reserve force.
From the landing field, you will be conducted to the seat of the world government at Washington, D.C., where you will be received and housed in suitable accommodations. We will welcome you in peace. Check out. We will welcome you in peace. We hope. Suitable accommodations. Trust McCabe to hand me a crackpot assignment like this.
Oh, Johnny, you're the big spaceman. You're supposed to know by instinct what's suitable accommodation for a Martian.
Don't be silly, Terry. I haven't the slightest notion in the world what they'll look like except some crazy ideas I picked up from science fiction. I don't know why.
All right. That's why we're here. The head of our anthropology section has more ideas than any science fiction writer you've ever read. Now, here we are.
Ah, Terry, come in.
Hello, Professor. This is Mr. Dixon, the young man I told you about.
I know, Mr. Dixon.
Professor, I've got a problem.
Terry and I have discussed the problem. It is my theory that the Martians will, in most important respects, have the characteristics of the Earthman.
Oh, what's the basis of your theory, Professor?
It's very simple. The accomplishments of the Martians parallel our own. Only a being with opposable thumbs can fashion the intricate devices necessary for spaceships. Only a being with a nervous system like our own could master communication. Only a creature with a brain like ours could dream of peace.
Makes sense, Professor.
That's one side of it, Johnny. A lot of other anthropologists think differently.
Yeah, that is so.
They feel that the Martians living on a dry planet with little vegetation and very little water will be creatures that crawl on the ground like our insects, enlarged a few thousand times. They may look like enormous ants with oversized antennae.
I give up. With 48 hours left, I can't prepare accommodations for every conceivable form of life. We just have to improvise after they get here. I just hope they don't get too sick when they first look at us.
This is Matt Wilson again, reporting from the spaceport at Los Alamos. A tremendous crowd has gathered here. We're awaiting the appearance of the spaceship from Mars, which is being escorted by 20 rocket ships from the rendezvous near the moon. According to reports, all's gone well so far. The Martian ship... one moment, please. An audio-box announcement is going to be made to the people assembled.
Your attention, please. The ship from Mars and its escorts will be seen any moment from the east.
You heard that. Any moment, the ship from Mars and... Wait, there they are! And now, the ship from Mars! The Martian ship is idling over the field now, casting a huge shadow over the landscape. It's an awe-inspiring spectacle. The ship is tremendous, 18 to 20 stories in height, several city blocks long, and its large windows are fashioned of some kind of transparent metal.
Civilian commander to Special Defense Patrol. Man battle stations.
Our technical experts are staring at the craft in open-mouthed wonder. Mr. McCabe, what is your reaction?
I am dumbfounded. The ship doesn't seem to operate on a rocket principle. There's no belching fire, no clouds of smoke. I keep wondering what kind of fuel they use, what principles of propulsion, what metals.
Thank you, sir. The ship is almost touching the ground now, and the crowd is getting uneasy. Why, they're falling back. Federation is going to speak.
As your great ship settles on our soil, we salute you, the emissaries of space. We wait eagerly for your appearance.
Now, the blue mist has completely vanished. All eyes are on the ship, waiting for the first Martian to appear. There is no sign of activity yet.
Will you respond to our greetings, Martians? Will you make your presence known?
Nothing stirring. No gangplank lowered. No sign of life. Perhaps they were not prepared for atmospheric conditions here. Perhaps on the very brink of success, death has struck within that awe-inspiring vessel. Wait, it looks... Yes, it's moving. A tremendous section of the ship's prow is opening out in front. Like a gigantic tongue, it thrusts forward and drops to earth, forming a great ramp from the ship to our soil. And now it's down, and the surface of the ramp is like nothing ever seen on this earth. A shimmering, impalpable iridescence, unbelievably radiant and beautiful. The throng of spectators is silent, motionless, scarcely breathing, waiting to see the first Martian emerge. And still nothing. No one, no thing comes down the ramp. There is nothing but silence. Listen, that must be the Martian communication vibrations we were told about. The men on the field are operating the receiving device.
Earthmen, we ask that you send one representative to board our craft. We assure his safety.
What? Gentlemen, there is no cause for alarm.
I think there is. They want a hostage or a specimen to take back with them.
There's no time for anything. They're waiting for a decision. Mr. Secretary. Yes, Mr. McKean. If it's all right with the committee, I'd like to go aboard. Technical information, sir.
No.
Quiet, John.
This is my dish, McCabe. I was slated for the space run to Mars, remember? You're not doing me out of this. Besides, you're too valuable to waste. Mr. Secretary, tell them I'm coming aboard.
Men of Mars, we comply with your request. Our representative is about to board your ship.
Get ready, Johnny Dixon. This is it. Take a good long look at the sun and the sky. Take a deep breath of the Earth's good air. You may never get another after you meet whatever is waiting at the end of this long ramp. The ramp. It's pulling me forward like a conveyor belt. It's beginning to rise into the air. Get a move on, Johnny. Get into that ship. Get into that ship. Locked in. Now what? There's no one here. Nothing except that dancing light. I'll follow it.
Enter, Earthman.
Huh? Well, how can I? I'm closed in by 4 solid walls.
Follow the light, Earthman. The walls will not impede you.
Molecular reorientation? Changing the density of solid matter at will?
We achieved that 10,000 cycles ago, Earthman.
Where are you, man of Mars? This room is flooded with light, but I see no one.
We are not ready to reveal ourselves.
The people of Earth are waiting to see you, to welcome you. There is nothing to fear.
We are not afraid. Dixon.
You know my name?
We know many things. That is why we are sad, filled with revulsion.
I don't understand. What do you mean?
Through the dark spaceways we came to you in peace. You said to us, come in peace. But the escorts you sent to honor us were armed for destruction. The very ground on which we now rest seethes with radioactive potential.
Wait. You've misunderstood us. These weapons are for defense against you, not attack.
Many cycles ago, we of Mars learned, as you Earthmen will someday learn, that wars are fought, men are slaughtered, civilizations wiped out by those who attack with weapons of defense.
But our world is at peace now.
Your peace is not peace. It is a thin cloak which covers the hates and fears and savagery of primitive beings. Observe, Dixon. On this large visiscreen, we have for hours has been viewing your people in many parts of your Earth. Watch.
The Senator.
Listen.
I warned you it was a trap. We'll never again see Dixon alive. I told you not to trust foreigners. Just give me the word and I'll blast them all into Kingdom Come.
You must not be deceived. He's only one man. The rest of us are different.
Are you? Look at this. From another part of your civilized Earth.
You have been a traitor to our party. You've been guilty of bourgeois thinking. You have sold us out to the enemies of our people. You will pay the penalty. But first you will confess. Confess? Confess!
That's a backward part of our planet. It's not fair to judge by them.
Then we reveal a more civilized area. The country of your birth, Dixon.
Let all be him! I'm too good for him! Hang him, I say! Hang him! The rope! String him up in the highest tree in the square! Lynch him! Lynch him! Lynch him!
Now you know why we shall not reveal ourselves to you. If you are like this to these of your own kind, what will you think? What will you do when you see us, strange as we are?
Don't go. We know you may be different from us, but we can all meet in peace.
Earthman, peace must be achieved through toil and sacrifice of those few among you who understand its meaning. It may take many cycles, but in the end, the day will arrive. Then, and then only, we will return. Go back to your people, man of Earth, and give them the message from Mars.
Plus is produced by Sherman H. Dryer and Robert Wynne Olson. In today's story, Ken Williams played Johnny, Louis Van Ruten played the voice of Mars, Lon Clark played McCabe, Frank Behrens was the Senator, Amzie Strickland was Terry, Sanford Bickert was Paul, and Gilbert Mack was Dr. Lee. The orchestra was conducted by Emerson Buckley, music composed by Elliot Jacoby. Script by Judith and David Bublick. Sound by Walt Shaver and Al April.
Greg, what did you think of When the Worlds Met?
When the Worlds Met reminds me of another radio play we showcased on the Shiver Show. It was called The Day the Earth Stood Still. And there was that similar theme of a trigger-happy humankind just keen to blast the heck out of pesky aliens from outer space. However, in that play, the arriving alien had a rather blunt message, as you remember, Mary, for humans, which was, stop waging war or we'll destroy you.
That's right.
He wasn't exactly sugarcoating the message, as I may have said at the time.
You have a choice, peace or your toast.
That's right. However, here we have much more benign Martians who their message is basically lift your game, human, because we're not coming all this way, planet 4 to planet 3, if you're not going to lay off all that war stuff.
Yeah, I liked that, Planet 4. This is Planet 4. I thought that was quite clever.
But how embarrassing. I must say, I had to look up the solar system again to make certain. I just had this strange feeling that Mars was closer to the sun than Earth.
Oh, no.
What a dill am I? I was confusing it with Mercury, but, what do I know?
Don't forget Venus.
Oh, yes, and Venus in the way. Well, you obviously know your planets.
I have to. I'm in a trivia team. I've got to know all sorts of nonsense.
Quite true.
Yeah. Well, the thing with this, I thought it was a fun piece. I loved the fact that the generals were trigger happy, and the escort was armed to the teeth, and the landing pad was armed to the teeth. And here they are thinking they're not going to know about our plans. We're going to surprise them. Not so.
No. And I don't want to sound too negative about the prospect of world peace, but I would just like to say, and I'm going out on a limb here, but fat chance. When we once again quote the Spanish philosopher George Santayana, who said, "Only the dead have seen the end of war." So I really think the Martians might have been under the wrong assumption about mankind.
And here we are. This is supposed to be taking place on April 21st, 2020. So, right around now.
Yeah, actually, I liked all that idea. So back in 1950, which is when the show was first broadcast, the idea that we'd have a base on the moon, where you'd have a couple of astronauts like Johnny and McCabe. I didn't quite get. They were certainly rather giddy astronauts at the beginning, that opening scenes there, where they were described as space happy.
Yes, I thought Johnny was a bit of a goof. I say that with affection, but he was just the way he talked was very goofy.
Yes, that's right. Psst, don't tell anybody, but he's a Canadian actor.
Oh, really? That explains it.
No, well, I thought he might have had cabin fever. Could you imagine being cooped up in the rocket ship with those two relentlessly perky guys who'd drive anyone potty?
It was the Luna space station, right?
It was on the Lunar Space Station. And speaking of April 21, 2020, now there's nothing I won't do for this show, including Googling what was happening on that day. And I hope you're sitting down in the studio. Well, I actually can see you're sitting down in the studio, because no surprises, the COVID-19 pandemic was in full swing across the globe.
Yeah, so there would have been, social distancing. If somebody arrived, they'd have to wear a face mask.
Yes, that's poor Martian. So
everybody would be squirted with hand sanitizer.
Oh, yes. I quite liked that. That was one of the only things about COVID I liked. And the New York Times ran a COVID-related story, which was quite positive. And the headline was, "Can you make money in live comedy right now?" And the answer was yes. And I don't want to give away too much. I know it's a bit belated now, given we're out of COVID, but I think the answer was Zoom.
Zoom, yes, yeah. But back to this.
Yeah, sure.
if we
sure.
may.
Yeah, sure. No, please.
So the tech that I really loved in this was the thought transference machine. So now here we are on Earth, and we had Professor. Now I caught Professor Lee. I got his name, but what was the other professor's name?
Is that a trick question, Mary? No, I've got Dr. Lee.
Dr. Lee. There were two of them.
We'll come to Dr. Lee in a moment.
Yeah. There was one that was attempting to be a German, I think, probably an American actor trying to be a German. And then there was Professor Lee, who is an actor trying to be a Chinese person. Both of those accents were a little bit less than convincing. But I loved he called it a thought transference scanning machine. Now,
yes.
Why would you use that when you've got perfectly good satellite and other telecommunication systems to just pick up the signal coming from bars? Why do you need to scan people's thoughts, Greg?
I'm not certain, but I did note it was called a telepatheter, which is a great, you're a sci-fi buff. That's a great name for if you're going to brand it.
Yeah, telepatheter.
Yeah, on the subject of the character Dr. Lee, the actor playing him was a New York-born gentleman called Gilbert Mack. And I've got to say, and I agree with you about the accent, it was almost a parody of how they thought a Chinese person would speak. Presumably he'd actually never met a Chinese person.
We do know that there is extrasensory perception of thought impulses, just as there are sound waves which your ear has learned to interpret, and light waves which your eye and brain transform into a picture. So there are thought waves, electrical impulses discharged by the brain, which vary with the particular thought.
And in the dialogue, there's also a dash of that casual offhand racism you might have got in 1950, where they say, "Damn clever, these Chinese."
I know.
Which is a punchline that all the characters laugh at except Dr. Lee. But, as you pointed out, he gets the last laugh because he's invented the telepatheter.
Yes, which was sort of like Google Translate for Martians and Earthlings. It was damn useful. Yeah, so I thought it was fabulous. This is how we find out they're saying we come in peace.
Yes, oh yes, and there was that two-faced, or perhaps even three-faced, perhaps, Earthlings who are saying, the Martians say we come in peace, and the Earthlings are saying we welcome you in peace, with obviously their fingers crossed behind their backs.
It was very disappointing. Now, what is it about generals, Greg, on Earth that they're so trigger happy and just so angry, and they seem to have trust issues? What's going on there?
He was permanently grumpy and always shouting, that military chap.
My favorite line of his was, "We will not be found napping."
But as civilian head of the world military government, I assure you all, we will not be found napping.
And I'm sorry, I'm crying with laughter. And that, then we have on the reverse of that, we have Batty or Daffy Johnny. Totally on a high. Or for most of the show, he's on a high. And so that he was played by Ken Williams, as I mentioned, a Canadian, and he was in X-1 sci-fi radio series and the Buck Rogers radio shows. And Amise Strickland was Johnny's principal squeeze, Terry, who another person with chirpy dialogue, and adoring of Johnny, just blissfully adoring of Johnny.
Yeah, that was very those scenes with the two of them, like sort of having a little moonlight picnic underneath the lilac trees. They were sort of really nicely contrasted what was going on elsewhere. I quite liked those because they kind of took us out of the heavy duty considerations of an alien visit.
Precisely. We had them lying back looking at the stars, as you're saying, having their outdoors nighttime picnic. And he's looking up and he makes this remark about hard to believe that back in 1950 people could get romantic over that cold, dead, pockmarked, heavily yo-yo. And, she goes, oh, and then he says, don't worry, honey, I won't be seeing any Martians for a long time. Now there's a pro tip. Never say that in a radio play.
Don't worry, honey. I won't be seeing any Martians for a long time.
The next scene, Martians.
And he does actually, and this is something maybe some of the younger listeners don't know, but we did used to refer to the moon as a piece of cheese. I mean, as a round of cheese. So this was something that used to get said often. When I was a child, people used to refer to the moon as a big piece of cheese. Do you remember that, Greg?
I do remember that, and I have no idea why they did it.
Doesn't look like cheese at all.
Slightly pockmarked, perhaps.
How many pockmarked cheeses do you know?
He said racing, limited number of cheeses. No, Swiss holes. No, I don't know. Moving on, Mary.
Moving on.
There was one slightly controversial moment in the. This is when Johnny, when he's no longer giggling, he gets on board the Martian spacecraft, and where he tries to convince successfully the Martians that humans aren't all that bad, and the Martians smoothly pop a few examples onto what they call the Visi screen, and the examples are one which I assume is in Russia.
Yes.
Because they're talking about the bourgeoisie, and there's presumably a government official doing some, sort of rough talk.
Torture interrogation.
And the next one, I believe, is a lynching in the US.
Yes.
Slightly controversial, I would have thought, back in 1950.
So I was a little bit disappointed that when the aliens arrived and there was a blue mist. So I was thinking that's the aliens. The aliens are a blue mist, but we never got to see the aliens. I was a bit disappointed about that. Greg, what did you think?
That's a very good point. One of the scientists says that the Martians must look like Earthlings because the Martians must have opposable thumbs. Otherwise, they couldn't possibly make a spaceship, which I think not exactly creative thinking there. No, I think tentacles or webbed hands, or indeed, as you pointed out, a blue mist.
We need a spaceship because we're little fleshy, bipeds, but they might not require that at all.
No.
As Mr. Spock used to say in Star Trek, they'd often encounter aliens that were pure energy.
Oh, that's quite true.
Mm.
So it is indeed sad that we never saw, in inverted commas, given this is a radio play, the Martians themselves. But what about the overall sound effects? As our sound effects expert, particularly the landing of the Martian spaceship.
They had crowd noises. They had excited people. They had, some footfalls.
Well, I did. That was one of the parts I liked. I could picture that massive Martian spaceship arriving, and there was this strange way they described it. Said it was almost like a tongue that came out of the spaceship that allowed people to walk in. Well, in this case, Johnny to walk aboard.
Yeah, I thought the writing sort of ramped up. If you pardon the pun, because there's a ramp in it.
Yes.
It ramped up in quality when the spaceship arrived, because it got quite descriptive. Like they do in the 50s and 60s, they loved this notion of a ramp coming out of a spaceship that people would walk down, I guess, because you see that in a lot of films, and it's referred to in a lot of radio as well. So people obviously thought you had to have feet to walk down a ramp.
They're so thoughtful, these aliens. That's
So thoughtful.
just so thoughtful.
They've already thought about accessibility. They don't want stairs. They don't want escalators in case somebody's got on crutches or something. They just go straight to the ramp.
Right.
Any parting thoughts about our potential to actually meet these Martians again and behave better in the future?
Well, look, I'm glad you asked me that as well, Mary, because I am planning a new role, a new job for me as a consultant to advising Martians about life on Earth before they make their next visit. They can come to me, very reasonable industry standard fees, by the way. And first of all, they can forget the peace on Earth pipe dream. That ain't going to happen for some time, anytime soon. But instead, my suggestions to the Martians is bring a packed lunch, right? Because you might like the food here, and do what the Martians in the radio play, the War of the Worlds did, which is head for New York City.
Yeah, land in Jersey, park next to those public toilets, and make your way in.
That's right. And then book yourself into the audience to see The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, because that'll teach you all about life on Earth, particularly about life in America. And it'll be much more fun than sitting on a landing site at Los Alamos, which...
It's not a garden spot. And for the aliens, I don't know whether you'd agree with this, Greg, but I'd say if you have time, catch a musical.
Certainly. Perhaps the Book of Mormon on Broadway. That surely must be running. Cats will have to be running.
I wouldn't go to Cats.
Wouldn't you?
No.
Actually.
All right, we'll come up with a short list. So as an advisor to Martians, Greg, what approach would you recommend for coming to Earth?
When you say approach, do you mean physical approach?
Yeah, more the interaction. How do you see like let's get a football stadium and
what, like a Taylor Swift concert? Yes.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Planet 4, we have with us tonight Supreme Leader Gurgle.
I think a more subtle approach might be the way.
Oh yes. What did you have in mind?
I think literally just a one-on-one engagement with sort of maybe like a surfer or somebody like who's very mellow and not very aggressive, and just meet at a coffee shop.
What a surfer, dude. Let's just look at the waves for a while. So it's got to be better than those crazed generals. Okay. Well,
good night, Greg.
Good night, Mary.
That's our show for tonight. Thank you for listening. You can find The Shiver Show and Time Warp Studios on our website, which is www.timewarpstudios.com. If you have a comment or a suggestion that you would like us to read out on listener mail, please drop us a comment on our website.